as a team.
But Watson in motion on 3rd and 10. Love steps up on the run. Wide open, Jaden Reed. Make a man miss. Reed, goodbye. Touchdown, Packers, 70 yards.
You're listening to Darnell the Chumps, Darnell's Chumpy Wisconsin Sports Show. All right. Well, that was Jaden Reed taking a pass from Jordan Love on 3rd and 10 in the Packers' first game here against the Eagles over the weekend. One of the highlights of the game for sure. 70 yards, just great play design, great way to roll up in the pocket there with Jordan Love and find Jaden Reed streaking across the middle and then lay a really good pass on him, make a guy miss, score a really long touchdown. Great play design, great execution. So all of that really worked out well for them. You're listening to Darnell's Chumpy Wisconsin Sports Show. I am your host, Darnell the Chump. Today's date is September 10th. It's Tuesday evening. It's debate night. If you are a political person, or if you follow politics, or if you have a brain, you know that it is Kamala Harris versus Donald J. Trump tonight here, talking about America and why we suck and why we don't suck and all of those things. So tune in. I think that's at 8 o'clock tonight. You're not going to hear this or see this until tomorrow, so who really cares? But again, I am Darnell the Chump. This is Darnell's Chumpy Wisconsin Sports Show. Today we're going to be talking Badgers. We're going to be talking Brewers. We're going to be talking Packers. And we're going to start with the Badgers. Emphasis on Badgers. They beat South Dakota this past weekend. Yay. The Brewers, they lost 4 of 5 since we last talked. Yay. The Packers played a very entertaining game, but ultimately lost the most important thing, which is Jordan Love. And we'll talk about all that stuff. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. So, the Badgers, South Dakota game, FCS school. Now, very highly ranked FCS school. So that means that's Division 1B, basically. So if we're FBS, they're FCS. And they are ranked in the top 5, top 10 annually in the FCS program. So they're always up there. They made it to I believe the semifinal last year of the FCS playoffs. So where they lost to North Dakota State, which just narrowly lost to Colorado earlier this year, which I talked about last week. This week, the Badgers played South Dakota State. South Dakota State is the Jackrabbits, I believe, the one that makes the NCAA tournament every year and causes a little bit of anxiety in some major team. But the Badger football team played them this year. 27-13 was the victory for the Badgers. Last week they won 28-14, so pretty much the exact same outcome, minus 1 point on both ends there. And I did have there were some positives I was able to pull out of this. They should have laid the absolute beat down on this team. First off, 27-13 is not how you should beat an FCS school when you are a Big Ten supposed power. Now, are they a Big Ten power this year? Probably not. Supposedly, they're supposed to be in the upper echelon of the Big Ten, and you got to beat up on teams like this. I did pull some positives, like I said. Pulled some positives. Number one positive for me was some fun play calls. So last week when they played Western Michigan, it was vanilla, It was runs up the middle. It was a couple 5-yard outs for the receivers, and no play went longer than 17 yards. That's boring. I'm sorry. Like, any way you cut it, that's not Ron Dane football. Ron Dane ripped off 40-yard runs. That's just boring. It was hard to watch. And at least the next week, so South Dakota week, this past Saturday, they ran a flea flicker. They ran some RPO. They had a really great play where it kind of looked like Van Dyke was going to take off running, and then he stopped and chucked it deep, and Bob's your uncle. We got a touchdown, and that was to put us up 14-0. And it really looked really good at that point. Uh, and then maybe didn't look as good as we as we continued there. But second positive was Cade Yakimelli. He's quick. He's got a burst. He's got a burst that Ches Malusi and Tawi Walker just don't have. He brings the energy, right? He's the third back, but I guess Saturday with Tawi Walker being out, he was a second back, and he provided some energy that I didn't know that the Badgers had on offense, and it made me feel good. And I would like to see more of Cade Yakimelli, and he's got a pretty dope name. That's another thing. He's a very cool name. Um, he's got quick feet. He hit the holes really quickly. He kind of remind me of Aaron Jones just a little bit. Weird, I know, crazy comp, but like just a little bit of it. He had a little bit of that shiftiness, and he'll, like, kind of catch it out of the backfield and get upfield for 25, 30 yards. That was fun to see. The last positive that I was able to take out of the game against South Dakota is the fact that they are 2-0. It is it is the first time since 2019 or 2020 that they have been 2-0. So, that means that they haven't lost a grinder or a stupid non-conference game in the first 2 games of the year this year, when they have done that in the past. Now, more than likely they're going to lose to Alabama here on Saturday, right? It's just more than likely that's what's going to happen. But they're 2-0. And that is an improvement upon previous years. So um, now we have to move on to the negatives, unfortunately, and they are plentiful. The gameplay, just it jump out to a 14-point lead, and then they let them come back all the way to the point where they muff a punt inside their 10 and have to do a defensive stop just to not allow them to tie the game at the end of the third quarter. Like, you can't do that. You just can't. Like, you might be able to get away with it against South Dakota. You might be able to get away with it against Western Michigan. I don't know if there's another team on the schedule where you can make mistakes like that and walk away with a victory. So, are they going to figure it out? Are they not going to figure it out? I don't know. But the gameplay needs to change. They need to execute on offense, and they need to fill the holes on defense. Because if they play like that against Alabama, they are going to get massacred. Like, absolutely massacred. Like, I'm not talking about my prediction, which is a little bit more conservative. They could lose 55-0 if they play the way that they have the first 2 weeks this upcoming week. And that's just my feelings on that. So, timely penalties. That was another negative. They got penalties called against them at the worst times. Third and longs. On defense, right? Third and long, you get a stop, you do a penalty, all of a sudden they have a first down. You're like, well, it's a killer. And then holding penalties on 1st and 10, making it 1st and 20. They did it 3 times this week. Where it was 1st and 10, they made it 1st and 20, 3 and out. You can't do that. And if you're not going to be passing the ball deep, you're not going to be taking 16, 17-yard post routes and stuff, like, you're not going to be able to make up the 1st and 20 that you have to do. So you really got to watch that. And that was something that was really, really costly to them in this game against South Dakota. Number 3, I had wide receiver separation. If your name is not Will Pauling, you were not able to get open Saturday, whatever. I don't know what day it is. Tuesday. If you weren't Will Pauling, you weren't open. It was insane. Like, no, they were blanketed by 1-star recruits at South Dakota. Like, it was pretty crazy, and they couldn't get away from the South Dakota DBs. I don't understand that. We've got former 5-star recruits. We've got guys that can run 4.40s. Like, you got to work on your route running to be able to get open. Otherwise, like, what are you going to do against Alabama? What are you going to do against Oregon, USC, other teams with like high level speed and high level talent? You're going to have to beat them with fundamentals. You're going to have to. And as I say fundamentals, I get to the fourth of the 5 negatives that I have, which is run defense. Plug the dang holes. Like how are you letting South Dakota gash you for 15, 20 yards a carry in some cases? Like that, you can't do that. That I mean, they have a big offensive line. I'm not gonna pretend they don't. South Dakota has one of the biggest offensive lines in the country, FCS or FBS. But Alabama has a bunch of NFL talent across their offensive line who are going to destroy the Badgers if they aren't disciplined in the gaps, and they're not hitting those holes. You just gotta. That was tough to watch. The running, watching an FCS school run it down our throats, that was tough. Maybe yearn for Jimmy Leonard a little bit, but I digress. The last one was special teams miscues. I talked about it a little bit a couple minutes ago, and that is you cannot muff a punt inside your 10. You can't. It is inexcusable as a punt returner or a special teams player. You are in there for 6 plays a game. You need to make those 6 plays count, and you cannot make a mistake like that. You can't have turnovers on special teams. You will not win games. And you are lucky that you got out of this one with a win. So that's my positive, my negatives, that kind of thing for the Badgers. Alabama's coming to town, right? We all know this. Camp Randall better be rocking. Got big noon kickoff. The Fox game day guys. We don't have the actual game day crew, so no Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit. We don't have those guys in there, but we do have the Fox guys, and they're doing their 11 a.m. kickoff stuff here. Camp Randall better be rocking. Like let's get in there, students. Let's make this memorable here. This is the first time we've had a top 5 team in Camp Randall for quite a long time. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm going to say my prediction now. It's 41-17 Alabama. Yeah, that is the most lopsided prediction I've ever made for any of the teams that I like. I've been a member of a fan of a lot of these teams since they were really bad. Like I was a fan of the Bucks when they were before Giannis, and that was a bad time. I was a fan of the Brewers prior to Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun. That was a bad time as well. So I know what it's like to lose big, and that's what I'm kind of predicting here. 41-17 Alabama this week. But I have caveats. Like, if the Badgers have a lead at halftime, I think they're going to win. I think if they're leading at halftime, I think they win. I also have another one, and this is my first X Factor. I have three X Factors today for the game on Saturday. Number 1, Tyler Van Dyke. Ooh, surprise, surprise, the quarterback, the guy that makes the offense hum. I'm saying if he throws for 300 plus yards, it's a dub. It's a win. He's got to throw for 300 yards and they win. He could throw for 0 touchdowns and, well, not many picks. I think he has to be pretty mistake free, but 300 yards and I think it's a W. So Tyler Van Dyke, it's time to show out. It's time to learn how to run. Come on, dude. You're slipping and sliding again. Like just like you never run on turf before. Number 2, and this is another offensive guy, CJ Williams. He had the bomb yesterday, Sunday, Saturday, whichever day they played South Dakota. He got the bomb from Tyler Van Dyke, 50, 60-yard touchdown pass. He needs to have a big game. If Van Dyke's going to get to 300 yards, someone's got to be a 100-yard receiver here, and I think that C.J. Williams has the talent and the speed to get that done. Now he's going to have to work on the route running to get open against Alabama DBs, but I think that he can. I think it's just a matter of putting it together, and we certainly do not have the evidence that they can put it together, but I'm still going to try and believe in that. And then last one is on defense, and that's Hunter Wooler. We're going to need impact plays from this guy. He's played solid defense so far. He comes up and helps in run protection. He's helping in, our secondary has actually been pretty solid these first 2 weeks against these schools. Like, we're not getting a lot of pass yards against us or anything like that. Hunter Wooler's been a big part of that, but he needs to make impact plays. Like, we need to see a sack or two. We need to see a pick. We need to see a big hit, right? That doesn't get you taken out from targeting, which, again, that targeting call this weekend when he hit the guy in the stomach, just absolute bull donkey. Like, that was nasty. That's textbook tackling. You can't tackle any better than that. And they threw him out for it. And he's got to miss the first half of the Alabama game. So frustrating. So frustrating. But yeah, Hunter Wooler, impact plays. We see impact plays from you on Saturday against Alabama. And I mean, those are the X factors for the Badgers. Go figure. They're 3 of their 5 most important players on their team. Kekahuna, he could also be one. I think that he's got the speed and the little quickness stuff they should be running more like jet sweeps and stuff with him. Don't you think? I think. That's what I think. Quick Big Ten update as we're talking college football. Is Nebraska back? Question mark. Is he? Is Nebraska back? They laid an absolute beatdown on Prime Sanders, Colorado Buffs over the weekend, and I was rooting for Nebraska. It was so weird. I never root for Nebraska. They're a bunch of like corn husking weirdos. But, I was rooting for them. They got the dub and they looked pretty good doing it. And they're, I think, ranked in the top 25 now, which is kind of impressive. PJ Fleck, that is Minnesota's coach, he crowd surfed his players after a win against Rhode Island to bring their team to 1-1. I'm sorry. Is that dude not just the weirdest dude ever? Just a crackpot, weird old man with no hair. Whatever. Minnesota's going to Minnesota, right? Indiana scored 77 points this weekend. What? I mean, I know it's like Illinois State or, whatever, some random school, but 77. That's insane. I remember when the Badgers scored 83 against Indiana, and I was like, coolest game ever. I think it was a Scott Tolzien, James White, Monty Ball, maybe John Clay back in those days. It's like 09, 2010, that kind of time when they were just kicking literal booty hole on any team that came into camp around. They were just kicking the crap out of them. My dad and I went to a Temple game where they won 55-0. What happened to those days? What happened to those days? When we could just beat the living dog crap out of anybody that came to our place. We should do that this week. Let's do that this week. Illinois beat Kansas. That was another thing. The Big Ten is up. Big Ten is doing some stuff. They expanded all the teams. We got UCLA, we got Oregon, we got USC. Washington, whatever. They're fine. But they're expanding. Illinois beat Kansas. Beating up on Big 12 schools. The up and coming Big 12 schools like Kansas that were ranked. I think they were ranked like 19th. Anyways, that's all I've got for the Badgers here. So we'll switch on over to the Brewers. I was going to finish it off with the Packers today because I think that's the one that's the moneymaker in Wisconsin. You gotta talk your Packers. So Brewers, last week I spent some time on them. I spent a good 20 minutes talking my Brewers, and I gave them a lot of praise, and rightly so. Okay, they are a good team. They really are, even bordering on great. And unfortunately, they took that praise from me a little too seriously. Maybe a little too seriously. And after my last episode dropped on Wednesday, they went and dropped 4 of their next 5 games over the weekend. So happy birthday to me, right? Especially losing 2 or 3 to the Rockies. Man, the Rockies suck. They're bad, and we can't figure them out as a unit. Our offense has been terrible against the Rockies going back to July and June. So that's tough. They're still heavily exceeding expectations. They're going to win the NL Central going away. They're still an 8.5 game lead, even though the Cubs have been playing a lot better. You know, 8.5 games with 18 games left. I think they're going to be okay. And you win 5 or 6 more games, with a couple losses sprayed in there to get that final clinching. But they got to figure that offense out again. They do. Jackson Churio, Garrett Mitchell, 2 guys that really have been playing well or in some mini slumps here over the last 5, 6 games. You got to break out of those, especially in the month of September here. We want to break out of those prior to the postseason starting, as I think everybody expects the Brewers to be firmly in the postseason with major aspirations there. They're looking to break out of it here. They're on the road against the Giants tonight. Really late start. I think like 8:45 or something like that. Um, and yeah, it's just that's late, right? I don't like the West Coast games. Being in the Midwest, they start at 6:45 San Francisco time, but that's 8:45 Central time, and we're just like, all right, it's 12:30 at night, and we're watching the ninth inning, and then I got to work in 6 hours. What are we doing here? You know, it's tough to be a Brewers fan when they're on the East Coast or on the West Coast. So that stinks, but that they got to do what they got to do, and they got to go out and get. I think they got to go get 2 or 3 from the Giants to really solidify or make themselves feel a little bit better going into the second week of September here, or I guess firmly in the second week of September. What we need the Brewers to not get complacent. Don't get complacent. Don't get boring. All right. Do what got you here, which is you play fast, you play wild, you play exciting, you play dangerous. Do all of those things. Do the things that got you here. Don't start getting conservative because you want to just make it to the postseason. You know, keep that foot on the gas and go for it here. Um, a little rant here, I guess. I can't put my finger on it, but I hate and love the contact plays at third simultaneously. So a contact play for people that don't know, um, when we have a runner on third and less than 1 out, less than 2 outs, right? Um, the Brewers employ what's called the contact play, which means that any type of contact from the hitter, the runner on third is taking off to home every single time, right? And that what that does is it forces the defense to make sure that they get a handle on it, get a throw home, and then get a tag down. And it works like 25-ish% of the time. It feels like, and it's probably higher than that, but it feels like it happens in the worst times of the game. Like it'll be like 7th inning down by 2, and they have 1 out, and then they have a contact play at home where they lose a run there on a simple ground out to the pitcher. So I love it, but I hate it. But I love it when it works, but I hate it. But I also love it and hate it while simultaneously loving and hating it at the same time. So that was a little rant about contact plays. If you want to, reach out to me if you have questions about it at Scary Russian Spy on Twitter, X, and I'm also, I got Gmail, that kind of thing. The Darnell's Chumpy at gmail.com. If you have something you want me to rant about at me, or something you want me to talk about, just let me know there. Pitching staff needs to stabilize. And I as I wrote that, I went, no, they don't. Their pitching staff as a whole still, even in like this kind of down stretch over the last 5, 6 games, has been pretty dang solid. They really have. Hobie Milner should never pitch when the Brewers are tied or leading. Like what the heck was that, Murph? You're going to be the NL manager of the year here. You can't pitch Hobie Milner with runners on in a tie game, man. What are you doing? He gives them more home runs than slow pitch softball guy. Like, come on. Let's be smart. Let's be smart. But yeah, I mean, the pitching staff as a whole has been great. They just their offense has to catch up a little bit again, which they were bombing away here, last week, and then now, not so much. I think in order to win a series in October, this is my X factor going forward here. To win a series in October, they need Hoskins to figure it out. So we need Rhys Hoskins to be Rhys Hoskins in October for them to win a series. That's my one prediction. So I think if they do win a series, it's going to be because Rhys Hoskins hit like 3 home runs in that series. Because he's done that before in his career. It wouldn't be the first time. He's a really impressive guy who's really done impressive stuff when it matters. And that is in the postseason. So that sound is hot steak chili, which means it's time for Chump's Chili Hot Takes. And I am Darnell the Chump, so I will be doing a Chump Chili Hot Take right now. I think that driving a vehicle after spending a bunch of money on it to fix a problem that you could like feel or hear in your vehicle, I think that is the best feeling that you can have. That first drive, when you like drive it away from the mechanics, you're like, oh yeah, my brakes aren't grinding anymore. Such a good feeling. Such a good feeling. It's better than getting hugged by a loved one. It's better than getting a birdie in golf. It's better than swishing a 3-pointer in basketball. Nah. There's a couple of things that are better than it, but that is one of the best feelings, is driving that car away and it is not making any noise and it's smooth. And you're like, I don't have to spend money on this car for a year. That was me knocking on wood. But yeah, that's one of the hot takes, man. That is one of the best feelings in the entire universe. If you don't agree, whatever, I don't care. Tell me. Tell me you don't agree. I'm more than happy to listen to the reasons why you don't agree with the most obvious take I could possibly have. Okay. All right. Next thing, Packers. We're going to talk some Packers. They are 0-1. They lost to the Eagles 34-29 on Friday night last week. Man, was Friday night just like about as it was a bad night for the Packers? Yes. Yes, it was a bad night for the Packers. Could it have been infinitely worse? Absolutely. Could have been so much worse. Like, we could be talking right now. I could be doing a show right now about the Packers punting their season because Love's gone for the rest of the year. That's what I could be doing. I could talk for 40 minutes about just that topic. But I don't have to, because he's not. He sprained his MCL, and the initial prognosis or diagnosis or whatever you want to say is that he's gone for 3 to 6 weeks. And as we've gotten further away from the initial, it's looking like maybe more like 2 to 3 weeks, which is insane considering it looked, when it happened at about 11 o'clock on Friday night, like a season ender. And I was fully prepared going to bed on Saturday night to not watch Jordan Love play another snap this year. And that felt like crap. So I'm here to say that did not happen. That is exciting. We are blessed as Packers fans to avoid that particular injury from him. It sucks that he got hurt, right? Especially in the fact that he started that drive really well. He made an insane throw the play before he got hurt. An insane throw on the run, running to his left and throwing to his left to Jaden Reed. And it was just an insane pass that went out of bounds. They got out of bounds. They picked up 35 yards. It was just a great pass to put them in position with like 12 seconds left or something like that to have a couple Hail Mary shots or whatever they wanted to do. But let's talk about the game, right? Because he got injured on the penultimate play, right? The second last play of the game. So the whole game was in front of him. The whole game was behind him. They already basically had played to a loss there. J Love, 50% passing. Not good. 260 yards is good. 2 touchdowns, pretty good. An interception, not so good, right? Josh Jacobs, 16 carries, 84 yards. Pretty decent debut, I would say, as a Packer. Very, very bad first half, and then he had a couple of big runs in the second half that made you say, oh, that's why they have Josh Jacobs, right? Jaden Reed had a absolute breakout game. He had 4 carries. He had a carry for 35 yards and a touchdown, but he had 4 catches for 138 yards and 2 total touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 passing. Narvison, that's Braden Narvison, missed a 43-yarder. That would have made things a little bit more interesting if he would have made it, because that would have been 34-32. And things just go differently when you're playing from down as opposed to up, which the Eagles would have been if they kicked a field goal with about 20 seconds left. So those are the baseline stats here. The defense, Hafley's first show here, his first chance to show everyone what he's got. He gave up 109 yards and 3 titties to Saquon Barkley. That's tough. Terrible penalties. A couple of them were phantom. And that's me speaking as objectively as I possibly can about the game. A couple of the penalties were absolute ghost penalties, like Jair's holding penalty where he didn't hold anything. Kenny Clark's just a dumb person that sometimes, he grabbed Saquon Barkley for no reason when Jalen Hurts was already out of the pocket. It just, whatever. That didn't make any sense. But like the penalties, he just can't do some of that stuff. And they happen at third downs, just like the Badgers, man. Happen on third down. You already made a stop, and now you're going to give them a first down from penalty. It's just, got to get better at that. They were awful on third down. They're awful on third down as a defense and as an offense. You got to convert on third down, and you got to stop them. Got to get off the field on third down. They couldn't get off the field when it mattered. Just couldn't. They could not get off the field when it mattered. Philly ran, and it was penalty assisted, obviously, but they ran like a 9-minute drive to end the game before the Packers got a little 20-second chance to do some fun stuff. I will say they did keep a positive for the defense. They kept a good eye on Hurts. They didn't let Hurts get out of the pocket or do anything too crazy. And that I thought was a very positive thing that I saw from them. My analysis of the game, I'm not going to put a lot of stock in a season opener that happens in a third world country and played on an ice rink. If you watch the game, they were slipping and sliding and riding that rhythm. It's terrible. It's terrible. But the Packers played an entertaining game. It was back and forth the whole time. And, they probably felt like they should have won going away. They had 3 turnovers to their only 1. They had 1 turnover. So they won the turnover battle by 2. They probably felt like they left a ton of points on the field because of missed field goals, settling for field goals inside the 10. Can't do that and win. Just can't unless you're who did it this week? The Steelers did it against the Falcons. They settled for 6 field goals and won 18-10. Okay, whatever. Then again, they have TJ Watt on their team. He was just wreaking havoc the whole time. Jordan Love slipped on his dropbacks 11 times. I counted. 11 times he dropped back. He slipped at the top of his drop. Like how can you ever expect to expect this guy to complete passes if he can't even get footing? And that's not on him, and that's not on anybody. And the Eagles were dealing with it too. I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm saying that everybody's slipping and sliding around because this field was such dog crap. It's terrible, terrible. He also threw a pick to on a throw where he was going to Musgrave. That I think Musgrave was actually more at fault than Jordan Love was for not going more for the ball and just kind of letting it go past him and then get caught by the other team for the interception. Jordan Love, a couple of what the heck are you doing moments, and a couple of moments where I was like, this is Jesus. The last one, he had a couple plays. He had the play to Jaden Reed that I played at the beginning. That was one that was, off script, good play. Just got to get better. Just that's the whole point. We want you to get healthy, get better, come back. Hopefully we're 1-3, 2-2, something like that. And, take us to the promised land. I don't know. Opportunities for W's here in Jordan Love's absence. They play at Tennessee. They play the Colts at home. They play Minnesota at home. Those are 3 very winnable games. You just got to run the ball. Focus on the run, especially with Malik Willis being our quarterback going forward. I don't know how I feel about that, man. But in Malik we trust, I guess. But yeah, I mean that pretty much wraps things up for Darnell's Chumpy Wisconsin Sports Show this week. Again, as always, you can hit me up on Twitter, DM me if you got questions. Leave a comment on the stream on Spotify, whatever you want to do. And yeah, just have a happy, healthy week. And it's also 9/11. Kind of forgot about that. So never forget, vote, all that. Peace.
Since